My name's Brian Perdue. I'm the editor of the News Messenger and the moderator for tonight's candidates forum for the constitutional offices in the November 3rd election. The forum's co-sponsors with the Montgomery County League of Women Voters are the Montgomery County, Radford City, Floyd County branch of the NAACP, the NRV chapter of the Virginia Interfaith Center for Public Policy, and the News Messenger. Let's start by pledging our allegiance, please. Please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This forum is being videotaped by the county videographer. The video will be available on YouTube with a link at the League of Women Voters of Montgomery County's website, which is www.lwvmcva.org. And it will be replayed on both the county's local access TV channel 190 and the town of Blacksburg's local access TV channel 2. We encourage all audience members to submit questions. Each question will be asked of all the candidates unless it's for a specific race. Our helpers have given you index cards to write down your questions. They will then collect them and screeners will review them, mostly for duplication, and pass them on to me, the moderator. The forum guidelines have been distributed to you. In addition, candidates for contested elections have been asked to respond to League voter guide questions. Candidates wrote a short biography and responded to pertinent policy questions. The League copies their responses and pastes them into voter guides for that position. Copies of all the voter guides will be on the League website, and paper copies of voter guides will be in the public libraries. I would like to introduce the question screeners and the timers at this point. First, the screeners. Tacey Newell, Irene Leach, and Carol Linker. Timers, Karen Novak and Susan Gurley. And that's Mary Huska on the end there. Okay, it's time for me to introduce the candidates. To my right and to your left is Susan Richardson, a candidate for the Clerk of Courts. Beside her is Erica Williams, the incumbent Clerk of the Courts. Beside her are Commissioner of Revenue candidates Helen Royal, the incumbent, and James Tay Taylor, the challenger. To my left, we have George Jackson, candidate for sheriff. Beside him, we have Robbie Hall, candidate for sheriff. And beside him, we have Hank Parton, candidate for sheriff. Again, Ms. Williams and Ms. Royal are incumbents in those races. So I guess we'll begin the questions. We'll start by asking all candidates the same question, and we will alternate who has to answer them first and try to be as fair as possible. We'll start with Hank Parton. Mr. Parton, why are you running for your office?
I've been at the sheriff's office for 22 years. The sheriff's office is the biggest part of who I am. I know everyone there and I know most of their families. I've served the citizens for that amount of time, honestly, faithfully, and given blood, sweat, and tears. There's nothing at this point in my life I want to do but be sheriff of this county and protect our citizens and our children. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, why are you running for sheriff?
This endeavor for me started 25 years ago, starting with my service in the military as well on active duty. I learned as a young person from lots of good leaders in my life how to continuously progress and challenge myself on a daily basis and pay attention to those that were leading me. Most of those people told me to always be a good student and a good learner, and I've tried to model my career through the right training, education, and experience to be the next sheriff of Montgomery County. I think there's a great staff of people working there that I'm also committed to, that I've also known for 20-some years. and I pledge my faith to the citizens of the community as well to just move it forward and to make some progressive changes to make it better for everybody and more safe for our children and our families.
Mr. Hall, why are you running for sheriff?
Shortly after starting at the sheriff's office in 1981, which is 34 years ago, it wasn't long before I realized that was going to be the job that I retired from. I have been active in the community. I feel like that I want to manifest the belief that the integrity, dedication, and professionalism of our office is the foundation of trust of the community. I'm not an 8 to 5 guy. I go to work every day trying to make the office better. I have program after program that I have started and while at the sheriff's office, and each program has been successful. Thank you.
Now we'll move to the clerk.
Difficulty hearing.
Pardon?
We're having difficulty hearing. Use the microphone.
How about this? Is this better? It's better? Okay. If you can hear someone, let us know when they begin speaking. We'll make sure that's corrected. Okay, continuing with the question of why you're running. Ms. Williams, why are you running for clerk?
I have been in the court and legal system for over 25 years. Every job that I have ever had and every training that I have received has prepared me to be the clerk. And I'm answering it a little bit differently than our candidates for sheriff because I am the clerk now, and I have done that for 8 years. I'm a lifelong resident of Montgomery County, never lived more than 5 square miles from the courthouse that I serve every day. I'm committed to my community. I believe I would like to continue the good work that has been done in the clerk's office over the past 8 years, and I feel it's my life's calling to be the clerk of the Circuit Court of Montgomery County. We've done some pretty awesome things in our office, and I would like to continue that with dedication and experience, because experience matters for the future. Thank you.
Ms. Richardson, why are you running for clerk?
As an attorney in the New River Valley for, yep, I'm moving it, thank you. As an attorney in the New River Valley for almost 9 years, I have worked with 5 different counties surrounding Montgomery County and those clerk's offices. And in that role, I have seen that there needs to be a change in our clerk's offices. I have noticed things that could be improved in our office, and the clerk of court is not required to be an attorney. However, there are many legal issues and legal questions that come up in the clerk's office, and as an attorney, I would be able to help citizens with those questions and those problems that arise. So that is why I decided to run for clerk of court.
Ms. Royal, why are you running for Commissioner of Revenue?
4 years ago when I took office, I took an office that I thought was very well run, and I found out that we had some problems that were underlying that needed to be addressed, and I am trying to do that right now. Unfortunately, I'm trying to do it in an election year, and so therefore I'm asking for another 4 years so that I can do the things that need to be done in that office. Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, why are you running for Commissioner?
I'm 56 years old and I've lived in Montgomery County all my life. I've been in the business community for the last 34 years. I've had a number of people in the community say, you are the right person to run for this job. For the last 15 years, I've been a successful insurance agent in my own insurance agency. For the last 21 years, I've been in the insurance business as well. I worked for a family business before that called Taylor Office Supply. So I'm very well attuned to the business community in Montgomery County, and I feel my qualifications for this office stand for themselves.
Okay, I'm going to read the first question from the audience. It's addressed to all the candidates, and we will start with Ms. Williams. What are your educational credentials for the office you seek, and how will your education benefit that office?
My education credentials for the office that I am seeking are that I hold an associate's degree from Virginia Western Community College that I attained after I graduated from Christiansburg High School. I went on then to work for 2 local prosecutors, one in Montgomery County, one in Pulaski County. Further from that, I worked in General District Court for over 3 years. After I became the clerk, I went to the Weldon Cooper Center of Public Service at the University of Virginia, and I obtained the Certified Circuit Court Clerk status, which is a professional education certificate that elected officials can obtain once they hold office. In addition to that, I'm a faculty instructor for the National Center for State Courts in Williamsburg, Virginia, where I have an opportunity to teach other clerks. That benefits the staff that works in my office, and it also benefits the citizens of Montgomery County that I serve.
Ms. Richardson, what are your educational credentials, and how will your education benefit the office you seek?
Well, I graduated from Christiansburg High School. I've lived in Montgomery County all my life. I then went to Virginia Tech and graduated from Virginia Tech with a bachelor's degree in English. I then proceeded to Appalachian School of Law and obtained a Juris Doctorate degree from there. And as I said earlier, having a law degree and having that law background, practicing attorney that has represented clients in over 1,000 cases would help the clerk's office because I'm able to read the law and understand the law. In the clerk's office, this is a very important task. Obviously, there are issues that arise daily where one has to understand what needs to be applied and how the law applies to that situation. And we need in our clerk's office to have the law followed and for our office to be a statutory office.
Mr. Taylor, what are your educational credentials for the office you seek, and how will your education benefit that office?
I'm also a graduate of Christiansburg High School. After that, I went to Hampton-Sydney College, got a 4-year degree, a Bachelor of Arts. I continued my education at Radford University for the next 2 years. I took classes in accounting, business, insurance, and real estate. In my second year, I was in the master's degree program. I've also run a business where I had to do payroll, other assorted items, filing, everything associated with owning a business. So I think my business experience in itself means a lot.
Ms. Royal, what are your educational credentials, and how will they benefit the office you seek?
I graduated from Christiansburg High School. I attended Radford University for 3 years. Since I have become commissioner, I have had numerous classes through Weldon Cooper, and in November I will apply for Master Commissioner of the Revenue. And I also think that the 24 years of experience that I have in my office and the last 4 as commissioner qualify me to be your Commissioner of the Revenue. Thank you.
Mr. Hall, what are your educational credentials for the office you seek, and how will your education benefit that office?
I graduated from Shawsville High School in 1979 and immediately started at Virginia Western Community College. Accepted the job at the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office in 1981. Throughout 34 years at the Sheriff's Office, I rose through the ranks and was a supervisor for 26 years. I have over 5 pages of specialized training pertaining to the various jobs within the Sheriff's Office. These schools range from schools in Virginia to as far away as Longmont, Colorado. I have worked in or been actively involved in all divisions within the Sheriff's Office. As Captain and Chief Deputy, I have 17 years of budget experience along with the other job assignments.
Mr. Parton, what are your educational credentials for the office you seek, and how will your education benefit that office?
I graduated high school also in 1979. I have an associate's degree from Chowan College in North Carolina, 2 years criminal justice major at Radford University. I'm a 2004 graduate of the United States Army Sergeant's Major Academy in Fort Bliss, Texas. I've been certified by the Department of Criminal Justice Services as a general instructor, defensive tactics instructor, firearms instructor, also firearms instructor for the Army. My years, all 28 of them in law enforcement, have been centered around all of those activities that I still am currently trained in. I love teaching. I love all aspects of that job. I'm just looking forward to being sheriff. Thank you.
Mr. Jackson, what are your educational credentials for the office you seek, and how will your education benefit that office?
After graduating from Christiansburg High School in 1989 and 4 years of active duty service, I entered the workforce much like everybody else here. I achieved a bachelor's degree in organizational management and development. I also have a master's degree in organizational leadership and management. I have a graduate certificate from the University of Virginia in criminal justice education. I'm a graduate of the FBI National Academy in Quantico, Virginia. I'm also a graduate of the Virginia Forensic Science Academy in Richmond, Virginia, and the Professional Executive Leadership School out of the University of Richmond in Richmond. I'm also a DCGS certified instructor and have a host of different instructions in firearms, close quarters battle, officer survival, and a host of others. I think that my educational background obviously speaks for itself. I basically taught all across the country to 19 different states and thousands of different people on school safety and security. I've also been a business owner for 20 years in Montgomery County and think I know what I need to do to manage the budget and the finances of the office and lead the sheriff's office into the future.
This question from the audience is also addressed to all candidates, and we'll start by asking Ms. Royal. Ms. Royal, how much has your campaign spent on advertising, and who has been the biggest contributor to your campaign?
The biggest contributor to my campaign has been my son-in-law, John Pogue, and I have to this point not spent about $1,500 on signs and probably $800 on cards to pass out at the door.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, how much has your campaign spent on advertising, and who has been your biggest contributor?
I think I've spent close to $11,000, which is a lot, believe me. And my largest contributor has been myself. That's,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yep, has been myself.
Okay, we'll move to the sheriff's race. Mr. Parton, how much has your campaign spent on advertising, and who has been your biggest contributor?
Honestly, I do not know the exact dollar amount. I would estimate at this point probably about $15,000. My largest contributor would be Felix Clark.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, how much has your campaign spent, and who has been your biggest contributor?
I would also have to estimate, since I don't have the actual figures here with me, I also had some rollover money since I was a candidate in 2011. If I had to guess, I'd say probably $12,000 or $13,000, but I did have some material left over from the 2011 campaign that's not included in that amount. And I think at this point it's a tie between myself and Alicia Smith from Blacksburg, Virginia.
Mr. Hall, how much have you spent on your campaign, and who has been your biggest contributor?
I too would have to guess it's approximately $11,000. My biggest contributor has been my parents.
Okay. We'll move to the clerk's race. Ms. Richardson, how much has your campaign spent on advertising, and who has been your biggest contributor?
I would have to estimate probably around $12,000 to $14,000 on advertising. And my biggest contributor thus far has been my dad, William Quarterman. He's one of my biggest fans. So.
Ms. Williams, how much has your campaign spent on advertising, and who has been your biggest contributor?
Estimated, as of the last finance report we turned in, my campaign had spent around $14,000. Like the other incumbent I had, or someone that has run before, I did have things left over from the last race that aren't included in that. My biggest contributor is myself and/or my husband.
Okay. The next question from the audience is also directed to all candidates, and we'll start with the sheriff's race and start with Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall, if elected, how many terms do you see yourself serving?
I am 54 years old with 34 years experience. I have good health. I intend to run as long as my health holds out, and I feel like that I can go to work each day and make a difference for the citizens of Montgomery County.
Okay. Mr. Parton, if elected, how many terms do you see yourself serving?
I am also 54 years old in good health. If I'm elected, I see myself a 3-term or more sheriff.
And finally, Mr. Jackson, if elected, how many terms do you see yourself serving?
I'm only 44 years old, so I don't really know the answer to that question. But I can tell you that I'm not eligible for retirement. This is not a retirement job for me. So I'm going to dedicate myself to the citizens of Montgomery County, and I'll serve them as long as they'll have me.
All right, we'll move to the Commissioner Revenue race. Mr. Taylor, if elected, how many terms do you see yourself serving?
Well, I'm 56 years old, so I'm one of the oldest candidates, but I do have a sound mind and a very good body. And I do expect that to continue. I do not want to go downhill. So I would hope for at least this term and one more. So we'll have to see how both of them hold out.
Yeah. Ms. Royal, if elected, how many terms do you see yourself serving?
I will serve this one and possibly one more.
Okay, let's move to the clerk's race. Ms. Williams, if elected, how many terms do you see yourself serving?
Well, I've already served one. We're at the end of that. I am 43 years old and I am in good health. One thing I'd like to mention is that I really enjoy campaigning. It's something that brings me great pleasure, meeting the citizens in Montgomery County and talking to folks about what they want in their local elected officials. I would like to serve as long as the citizens will have me, and I hope that that's 2 more terms.
And Ms. Richardson, if elected, how many terms do you see yourself serving?
Well, I guess everybody's told their age. I might as well say I am getting ready to turn 36. And so I have quite a few years left under my belt, and I intend to serve as long as the citizens will elect me. I plan to dedicate myself to the community as I have in every job I've had up until this point, working as an attorney for the Legal Aid Society. I have represented indigent individuals, and I want to further that representation for our community and help our community. And I don't just enjoy campaigning and meeting people during election season. I want to do that the whole term, the whole 8 years that I'm in office, and that's what I intend to do, is serve the citizens for that entire term and however many terms they'll keep electing me.
This next question from the audience is also addressed to all candidates, and we will start with the Commissioner of Revenue's race and Mr. Taylor. Mr. Taylor, what is the biggest problem with the status quo that falls within the purview of the office you seek? The biggest problem with the status quo that you see?
Well, I hear that there are a lot of bills that come back once they're sent out with incorrect addresses on them, and I'm wondering why that might be. I just don't understand why so many bills would come back. That is the Commissioner's office to get that information correct and send it to the Treasurer's office. So what I would do if I am in office would be to have the ability to have telephone numbers and email addresses for all clients and all the citizens of Montgomery County. So if bills do come back, we have the opportunity to immediately contact them and get this correct.
Ms. Royal, what is the biggest problem with the status quo within the office you seek?
Well, evidently it's the mail, but you do know that we get our addresses from DMV and the taxpayers of the county. And if you don't give us a change of address, or if you don't change your address at the DMV, then it's not correct. Richard, the treasurer, uses the national change of address. And it helps, it really does, but they come back at the time that the bills have already gone out. So I was asking some commissioners of the revenue what they did, and what they do is they send a tape off before the bills are actually sent across the hall to be sent out in time to have enough time to correct the bills. So that would be one of the things that I would do amongst several other things. Thank you.
Okay, we'll now move to the clerk of courts race. Ms. Williams, what is the biggest problem with the status quo within the office that you seek?
I'm going to go a little off here and say that I don't believe there is a status quo in our office. As a leader, I strive to look for ways to refine policies and procedures every day. We never accept that what we do today is the best that we can do tomorrow. We are always on the lookout for new technologies, new ways to serve the citizens, new things to implement to improve citizen services. One of the parts about being a leader in the Virginia Court Clerks Association is I have 120 other colleagues in Virginia that are running clerks' offices across Virginia, and we are a big networked, nonpartisan group of colleagues that if we have a problem, we talk to each other. If other clerks have a problem, they'll call me in Montgomery County and say, how are you doing this? So networking is good to not stay in the status quo, and it's always been my goal as a leader to not accept what's good today is good tomorrow.
Ms. Richardson, what is the biggest problem with the status quo that falls within the purview of the office you seek?
As an attorney, I have been a person that has used this office, and I have also during this campaign talked to lots and lots of people that have used this office. I see the biggest problem with the status quo right now actually being a high turnover in the office. There is around 20% turnover each year. I would say that high turnover is due to a lack of leadership. It's interesting that Ms. Williams answered the way she did because what I had written down was lack of leadership. As an attorney, when I go in the clerk's office, I don't see Ms. Williams. Other attorneys say they don't see Ms. Williams. And so I think that's a huge problem when we have an office like this not having that leadership.
Okay, we'll move to the sheriff's race. Mr. Parton, what is the biggest problem with the status quo within the office you seek?
Like the clerk, I'm going to leave that subject line just a little bit. I do not believe there's a status quo that we can tie to the sheriff's office on a daily basis other than stuff that is repetitive, civil process, criminal warrants. The sheriff's office is a very fluid place. Things change rapidly as it does with all of law enforcement. Right now I can tell you that the sheriff's office operates very smoothly. The sheriff's office needs tweaking. It's not perfect, but there are many, many good things going on there. A lot for the citizens of Montgomery County to be proud of.
Mr. Jackson, what is the biggest problem with the status quo with the office that you seek?
Well, again, I'd like to remind everybody that I ran for sheriff in 2011. My campaign's knocked on nearly 25,000 doors over the past 4 years, and this year And I think the biggest problem with the sheriff's office isn't necessarily related to its employees, because there's a tremendous amount of support for those employees, the men and women that go to work every day and do their jobs with dignity and professionalism and honesty every day. But if I had to guess from talking to the thousands and thousands of people that I've talked to, being involved in chamber events and serving in nonprofit organizations across the community, I would say that the status quo is, if it's not broke, you guys can finish the statement. Don't fix it. Don't fix it. And I think my educational background is proof that I'm not going to settle for the status quo. I'm going to continuously strive to challenge myself. I'm going to continuously strive to challenge the people in the sheriff's office, and I'm going to ask them to challenge me back. And that's how we're going to make the sheriff's office the best that it can be. I follow the national accreditation standard models for law enforcement, and the Virginia Tech Police Department is constantly known for the best practices in law enforcement. That's what we're going to strive to do, just make it better.
Mr. Hall, what is the biggest problem with the status quo that falls within the purview of the office you seek?
I agree that I do not feel like the sheriff's office has a status quo. We recently moved in a new building less than a month ago. We are currently excited about the new building, and our employees actually have a place to work. Prior to the movement to the old building, officers had to stand around and wait to use one of 5 computers to finish reports or answer the phone. We now have a new building, we have new training rooms, and we are currently setting up state-of-the-art classes for the training rooms. We're currently in the process of implementing in-car cameras and body cameras. We are currently implementing a new computer forensic system that we recently obtained through a grant to do computer downloads and cell phone downloads. Thank you.
Can I ask for a redirect on that?
Yes, you're allowed a 30-second rebuttal.
I'd like to provide a 30-second rebuttal to that. The Virginia Tech Police Department's had car cameras in our vehicles for 10 or 12 years. Most of the other departments around here have had cameras in their cars for 10 or 12 years. I don't know if it's an appropriation of funds or a lack of maintenance on the equipment, but I can just tell you that as a sheriff, I'm going to make sure that we're doing strategic and operational planning to make sure that the Board of Supervisors has all the detailed information that they need to make sure that the sheriff's office isn't without that type of equipment when it comes to providing officer safety and safety and security for you all and the citizens of Montgomery County.
Rebuttal, please.
Yes, 30 seconds.
What Mr. Jackson doesn't know, because he hasn't been there, is the sheriff's office as well has had the in-car cameras for at least that long. I do not remember when they were installed. Up until last year, everything was fine until the maintenance agreement expired, and it cost too much to maintain those cameras. As Robbie was stating, the new technology in the new building is allowing us to go with the body cameras as well as sophisticated in-car cameras that are downloaded immediately to a secure server.
Mr. Moderator?
Yes.
I did not know we were at the portion we could rebut. I would like
You can
one.
rebut. Yes, you may. You may.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Ms. Richardson asserted that there was high turnover in the circuit court clerk's office, and I would beg to differ that there is not. In any agency and in any organization, you're always going to have folks that are going to further their education and move on. We have had that in the clerk's office. We have had folks that have furthered their education and gone on to bigger and better things. We're very excited and very proud that that has happened. Additionally, one of the other challenges that I believe any county department would see is that sometimes you can't pay people what they're worth. And our folks that work in the circuit court clerk's office are worth a lot more than they're paid, and sometimes they have to move on.
Very well. The next question from the audience is also addressed to all candidates, and we will start with the clerk's race and Ms. Richardson. Ms. Richardson, how have you worked to improve yourself outside of your work to prepare for this role, such as education, advanced training, etc.?
Well, I have prior to actually deciding to run for this clerk position, I have went to other clerk's offices to see how they are ran and to compare those offices to see how our office could be better. I have went to the second largest clerk's office in the state and witnessed that for a day just to see what some of their procedures are and how we could change things. I also went to one of the local clerk's offices to see how it is ran and how things may be able to be changed at our office. I have also taken many legal education courses over the course of the last 9 years as an attorney. We have to take credits to keep up our law license, and so I've taken many courses, and I have even taught continuing legal education courses, and so that has obviously prepared me for this position and being able to advise our citizens.
Ms. Williams, how have you worked to improve yourself outside of your work to prepare for this role, such as education, advanced training, etc.?
Okay. Since becoming a circuit court clerk, as I said previously, I attained the professional certification from the Weldon Cooper Center Public Service at the University of Virginia as a certified circuit court clerk. That is a combination of presentation, education, actual physical work hours in the office. It is also being able to instruct others on how to get through some clerk issues. One of the things that I think that has been most beneficial to me as the clerk is becoming a part of the education committee of the Virginia Court Clerks Association. That committee for the Clerks Association, it's a statewide association, makes policies, procedures, helps with legislation, goes to the General Assembly. We work with our legislators to talk about issues that affect clerks all across the state. That enables me to bring back that information to my staff, who in turn benefit from that education.
We'll now move to the Commissioner of Revenue's race. Ms. Royal, how have you worked to improve yourself outside of your work to prepare for this role?
As I said before, I've taken several classes through Weldon Cooper. I am a member of the Virginia Association of Assessing Officers. I'm a member of VALTA, the Virginia Association of Local Tax Assessors. I'm a member of the Commissioner of Revenue Association. I'm also a member of Southwest Commissioners Association. And networking with commissioners at these local and state levels helped me to learn things that locally I would never know unless you continued your education through your associations. Thank you.
Mr. Taylor, how have you worked to improve yourself outside of your work to prepare for this role through education and advanced training?
Well, I've spoken to many people in the community, such as real estate agents, accountants, CPAs, and other professionals to get their ideas on improvements for this office. I think that's very important to get input from the community, from professionals. I have also read the roles and responsibilities of the Commissioner of Revenue, and this is from the Commissioner of the Revenue Association of Virginia. And I have spoken and met with other commissioners of the Revenue to get ideas from them about certain topics that might come up tonight, as well as other treasurers about information that can help me.
We'll now move to the sheriff's race and start with Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, how have you worked to improve yourself outside of your work to prepare for this role? Education, advanced training, etc.
I think I've already pretty well established my educational endeavors over the past 25 years, so I won't waste any time with that. I do a lot of research and study. You know, there's national information around, a lot of peer-reviewed articles and research information out there so that we can make sure that we're evaluating all the practices and procedures that we do. I've also been responsible on a command level for all the policy and procedure for a nationally accredited police department. I'm a member of the FBI National Academy Associates, the Virginia Forensic Science Academy, Alumni Association, and also the Professional Executive Leadership School Alumni Association. But if I had to say, I would say the biggest thing that I've done to impact my ability to serve the community is to be volunteering in the community. I think my volunteer service stands unchallenged at this point. I'm the president of the Montgomery County Christmas Store, position that I was elected to after only serving for a couple of short years. I'm also an executive member of the NRB Cares Child Abuse Prevention and of a Strengthening Family Support Network nonprofit in the community. And I've also been a business owner for 20 years.
Mr. Hall, how have you worked to improve yourself outside of your work to prepare for this role? Education, advanced training, etc.
Throughout my 34-year career, I've taken all available training classes possible. I've also networked and actually served on boards with the Western Region Jail Association and other agencies in Virginia. I have researched, I have studied, I have written policies and procedure, and I work constantly on a day-to-day basis with our accreditation team. I believe in networking with the citizens. I too have been a member of the Shawsville Volunteer Rescue Squad for 31 years. While all nonprofits in this county are important, the volunteer fire and rescue departments in Montgomery County is the most valuable asset in the county, saving the county approximately $13 to $15 million. I was the first advanced life support member in Shawsville, which means I was able to start IVs and push medication. I am proud for my service to the community through the Shawsville Volunteer Rescue Squad. I have other volunteer agencies that I have been a member of also, but my time's up.
Mr. Parton, how have you worked to improve yourself outside of your work to prepare for this role? Through education, advanced training, etc.
Throughout 28 years in law enforcement, like Robbie, I've attended just about every law enforcement training there is out there to attend. 22 years of that have involved military service, regular Army, National Guard, and Reserve. A lot of my weekends have been tied up since 1983. But what I have accomplished through that is every educational course through the military in the non-commissioned officer rank from PFC to Command Sergeant Major. I have been prepared and willing and waiting. Thank you.
This next question from the audience is also addressed to all candidates. We will start with the sheriff's race and Mr. Jackson. How have you given back to the community through volunteer service, and how has that helped you prepare for your elected position?
I've been supporting the Virginia Special Olympics on many different initiatives for the past nearly 14 or 15 years, not just the law enforcement torch run, but through the polar plunge, hot dog and bake sales, attending their events, and also contributing financially to those organizations. As I just previously said, I've been involved with the Montgomery County Christmas Store as a volunteer for several years, most notably the last 3 years or so on executive board roles in that particular organization. I was just recently elected as the president for the next 2 years. Since 2011, I've been serving on NRB Cares Board, again, which is Child Abuse Prevention and Strengthening Families organization. I was the 2014-15 Volunteer of the Year for the United Way, and I was also the Chamber of Commerce Volunteer of the Year Award nominee for 2014. I've donated thousands of dollars, literally, and thousands of hours to this community, and I plan to continue doing that as the next sheriff of Montgomery County.
Mr. Hall, how have you given back to the community through volunteer service, and how has that helped you prepare for the elected position?
I started with Shawsville Volunteer Rescue Squad while I was in high school. At that time, I was able to get out of high school and actually assist in running daylight calls. I served on the crew for 31 years before I took my life membership. Besides running Volunteer Rescue Squad, I have volunteered with the Cub Scouts and the Boy Scouts for approximately 9 years. I've also been an officer and board member with Isaac Walton for 3 years. My service to the community helps me maintain contact with the citizens of Montgomery County, and I'm proud of all the service that I have given to the county. I've also assisted with Special Olympics, and throughout the work at the jail, I have used inmate labor to assist all the other nonprofits within the county, New River Care, some of these others, also the Montgomery County Emergency Assistance. Thank you.
Mr. Parton, how have you given back to the community through volunteer service, and how has that helped you prepare for your elected position?
I too have participated in the Special Olympics, specifically the torch run since 1995. And by the way, when that started, we ran the torch from Pulaski County all the way to the courthouse in Salem. Participated in numerous charity events whenever they arose around the community. Also numerous charity events for my church. I'm always willing to give, always willing to participate, and will volunteer on a minute's notice. All of those things have led me to where I am now. Thank you.
We'll move to the clerk's race now and start with Ms. Richardson. Ms. Richardson, how have you given back to the community through volunteer service, and how has that helped you prepare for your elected position?
Well, when I decided to run for the clerk of court position, I had to resign from my position at the Legal Aid Society. And since resigning, I have continued to work as an attorney, providing pro bono representation to the indigent individuals in our community that can't afford an attorney. I have also am also a member of the Christiansburg Lions Club. I'm active with my church, Auburn Baptist. I also serve on the board of directors for New River Valley Community Services and Pathway Christian Academy. And I'm a member of the Blacksburg Sports Club and American Business Women's Association. Each of these services has strengthened my connections to the community and will help me to work together with the community to improve our clerk's offices and the services to the citizens of our county.
Ms. Williams, how have you given back to the community through volunteer service, and how has that helped you prepare for this elected position?
For 19 years, I was a member of the Christiansburg Fire Department Auxiliary, rising through the ranks to eventually serve as president. I am a past president of that organization. For those of you that are familiar with fire service, this is an extremely important support group, not only to the Christiansburg Fire Department, but also gives to other charities locally. I was proud and happy to serve that for 19 years. Additionally, myself and my family members, we actively volunteer and give to the Montgomery County Emergency Assistance Program. I have also assisted with Special Olympics. My husband and I both volunteer with all of our children's youth sports, everything ranging from cross country to track to wrestling to football to baseball and anything else kids could get into. Additionally, I'm a member of the Women's Leadership Conference of the Montgomery County Chamber of Commerce.
Very good. Ms. Royal, how have you given back to the community through volunteer service, and how has that helped you prepare for your elected position?
I am also a member of the Women's Leadership Conference. I volunteer for several different things, and my husband will tell you that anybody who is selling something for an agency, I buy. It doesn't matter as long as it's for children or somebody that needs it, I'm buying.
Mr. Taylor, what have you given back to the community through volunteer service, and how has that helped you prepare for your elected position?
Well, as president and owner of New River Insurance Agency for the last 15 years, my time was very much consumed with running that business and making it profitable, which it was. I was asked to join many, many organizations because I've lived here all my life, and a number of people and those groups have wanted me to join. However, running your own business is very hard. There's no doubt about it. My biggest contribution is every year I have given monetarily to all the agencies that have come by and asked for donations, and I've done that for many, many, many years to all the agencies that have come by and private nonprofit organizations. I'm proud of that.
All right, we're going to start having some questions from the audience pertaining to individual elections. We'll start with sheriff's candidates only. The first question will go to Mr. Parton. In light of today's hate group attacks on law enforcement, what would you do to implement and further the protection of our deputies, if anything?
We've already started down that road with the camera system, the technology with the body cams, as well as the electronic laptops, the word escapes me, computers in the car. We are able now to track and record just about everything that the deputy would encounter out there. Also, because of these recordings, deputies are able to critique themselves. So when complacency sets in, as it will over time and over years, they can look back and say, I shouldn't have done that on that traffic stop. I think we're all aware of the dangers out there now.
Mr. Hall, in light of today's hate group attacks on law enforcement, what would you implement to further the protection of our deputies, if anything?
I come into work early every morning to attend the roll call sessions with the patrol units. We cover all these incidents with the officers and make sure that they are aware of them at all times. With the planning of the public safety building, we put in a system of the in-car cameras, the body cameras, and also the mobile data terminals. We constantly have supervisors teach classes to their platoons so that they do not become complacent.
Okay. Mr. Jackson, in light of today's hate group attacks on law enforcement, what would you implement to further the protection of our deputies, if anything?
One of the benefits from being a member of some of those associations that I mentioned earlier are daily reports that come from a host of law enforcement professionals nationwide. We have a fusion center in Virginia that does an extraordinary job providing daily reports about what to look out for, what these hate groups are doing, what kind of activity they have in our area, gang-related information. The sky's the limit. I review those particular reports every day because normally we're pretty insulated to the things that happen just in Montgomery County. So I don't only want to protect our people from what's happening in Montgomery County, I want to protect them from the things that are coming to Montgomery County. And so I study those reports from the FBI, from the Fusion Center, and I also go over, tactical and operations briefs, and obviously, the camera in the cars, the NDT systems and all that, and the body cameras at, all the agencies out here. They're just kind of the next phase in basic police services. So obviously those things would be at the top of my list.
The next question from the audience is for candidates for the Commissioner of Revenue. Are you in favor of the proposed proration of personal property taxes? If so, how will you implement this, and what will the cost be to the taxpayer? We'll start with Mr. Taylor.
I am not in favor of proration. It is going to be an expense to the taxpayers. We've seen through the Board of Supervisors meetings and through reports from the Finance Department of Montgomery County, it looks like an immediate tax increase of between $1 million and $1.3 million. That to me is unacceptable. We have enough taxes right now, I think, to sustain the county. What was the rest of that question?
Are you in favor of proration of personal property taxes? If so, how will you implement this, and what will the cost to the taxpayers be?
Well, the cost to the taxpayers will also be a raise in taxes, probably about 7.6%, and there will be more employees that will need to be hired in the Commissioner's office as well as the Treasurer's office, and there will be out of time. I was almost done.
Ms. Royal, are you in favor of the proposed proration of personal property taxes? If so, how will you implement this, and what will the cost to taxpayers be?
I am in favor of proration, and if you sat in my office just today, there were probably 20 people who called and wanted to know why they had to pay for all year when they left in January. That's why we're working for proration. We're working for equality amongst everybody. You only should pay for what you own when you own it. I have for the last 7 months since April had a young lady in my office to set up proration, and she has done it through September with no other help other than being trained on our system. And we seem to think that we can do it with just that one person and the people that I already have. Thank you.
May I have a rebuttal?
Yes, 30-second rebuttal.
The majority of the citizens in Montgomery County will not have this problem because the majority of the citizens of Montgomery County stay here and do not move out. I would say, if I were guesstimating, about 92% of the citizens will not have this problem. And in my opinion, we are taxing the citizens fairly now. Everyone's getting taxed the same.
I'd like to rebut.
Yes.
It can't be fair if you're paying for something you don't have. If you sell a car in January, you're still paying for it in December. If you buy a car in January, you don't pay for it until the next December. So there's no fairness to that. It's the way it was originally set up. Other counties have found that you should pay for what you own when you own it. Thank you.
This next question from the audience is directed to the clerk candidates. We'll start with Ms. Williams. Ms. Williams, what programs have you implemented or do you plan to implement to better serve the citizens of Montgomery County?
We've implemented a multitude of programs since I've been the clerk. The first that come to mind are our Citizens e-Services. We implemented a marriage license kiosk in the office to cut down on staff time and paper time and citizens time. And we didn't stop there. We decided that we were going to offer these services online. You can now apply for a marriage license online. Additionally, if you are served a jury packet from the sheriff's office as a juror, you have a choice. You don't have to waste your stamp and mail it in. You can do it online. In addition to that, we also offer a Clerk e-Pass system where you can request certified copies or copies of documents sitting from the comfort of your own home if you choose to do that and don't want to come visit us. One of the things I am most proud that we have done over the past 8 years is we've implemented the paperless court file, and we've also upgraded our land record system. Those are two major things that we've done that includes e-filing. Attorneys can do e-filing from their own offices. And time's up.
Ms. Richardson, what programs will you implement to better serve the citizens of Montgomery County?
As an attorney, I have seen additional services in this office that may be needed. When somebody is calling the office and they are requesting records from the office, then they have to go through the laborsome process of sending in their money and then having that record sent back to them. I would make this available online to the citizens so that they can pay those fees. I would also make paying court fines available online. At this point, many people that have been charged with crimes are working during clerk's hours, and they have to try to find the time to come in and pay their fines. And so I would also help with that process and make it easier for people that have been convicted of crimes. And as an attorney, I have also seen that. Oh, sorry, time.
May I have a rebut?
Yes, 30 seconds.
Okay. We already have the system where you can request documents of any document in our office online. It's called Clerk e-Pass. It's available on the Montgomery County website under the Circuit Court Clerks tab. We've had that implemented for about 2 years now. Statute requires that we charge you previous to you getting the document. Virginia Code requires that we charge 50 cents a page for any document that is photocopied in the office, whether we send it electronically or you come in the office and get it. We give citizens a choice. You can mail your money in, we'll look it up for you. You can come in, we'll be glad to help you look it up. Or you can also request it through Clerk e-Pass. And I'd like to address quickly court fines. That's not a service that's available that the statute allows us to do right now because we have to figure...
Time up, Ms. Williams.
Thank you.
This next question from the audience is directed towards the sheriff's candidates. We will start with Mr. Jackson. Mr. Jackson, is the sheriff's department fully staffed? If not, how are you going to fix it in light of budget issues?
I don't know 100% whether the sheriff's office has any open positions. I did look at the website today to determine if they had any active positions open. I did not see any active employee rosters. When I clicked on the link, it said no information available. I do know that the most recent study put on by the Compensation Board for fiscal year 2016 shows that the sheriff's office will be down 10.9 positions. So my goal and objective when elected will be to work with our local politicians, elected officials, to make sure that we're represented accordingly in Richmond and that we're fighting the Compensation Board for funding for the things that are due to the sheriff's office to keep this community safe.
Mr. Parton, is the department fully staffed? If not, how are you going to fix it in light of budget issues?
Right now, we have 3 or 4 in the academy for road positions. I have 1 in the academy for a civil/road position. As of our last census, the Compensation Board in Richmond, who funds almost half of all our positions, are not going to grant us any more positions based on our population. There are 132 positions at the Sheriff's Office. Of those, 115 are sworn. Right now, I do not know of a vacancy minus the folks that we have in the academy.
Can I rebut really quick?
Yes, 30 seconds.
This is a question, actually. So are you saying they're not going to fund any positions, they haven't allocated any positions?
I'm saying they haven't allocated or funded because the census says that we're down.
I'm holding a census survey that I got off the internet just today. It shows the population for 2015 or 2014 in Montgomery County is 97,405. When you use the ratio that's associated with the Compensation Board to figure out how many deputies we're supposed to be allocated, it shows that currently for law enforcement specifically that 64.9 deputies have been allocated to the Montgomery County Sheriff's Office and that 10.9 positions would be due to the Sheriff's Office in fiscal year 2016. I'll let anybody see it if you want to after the forum.
I beg to differ, we're not doing any positions at this time.
There you go. Came off the internet today.
Mr. Hall, is the department fully staffed? If not, how are you going to fix it in light of budget issues?
The Montgomery County Sheriff's Office is fully staffed. We do not have any openings. The controversy that Mr. Jackson brought up is, yes, we would be, by the Code of Virginia, we would be eligible for more positions, but we are actually penalized because of Virginia Tech, approximately 9,000 Virginia Tech students, because they are not permanent residents, so thus the Comp Board will not give us positions for those, for that population.
This next question is from the audience is directed to the Commissioner of Revenue candidates. We will start with Ms. Royal. Ms. Royal, how does statutory law impact the duties of the Commissioner of Revenue? And how do statutory laws affect equitability?
Statutory law is what I live by. My office is a mandated office. Everything we do is mandated by the state legislature or the Board of Supervisors. And as the second part?
How do statutory laws affect equitability?
The statutory laws that are made in Richmond are meant to be equal and fair. Everything that I do in my office is for to make things fair. If I do for one person, I have to do for the other person. And we have to use recognized pricing guides. We have to help with incomes. We have to do many things based on, thank you.
Mr. Taylor, how does statutory law impact the duties of the Commissioner of Revenue, and how do statutory laws affect equitability?
Well, statutory laws are the guide that office goes by. They're set by the state. You have to read them, know them. You cannot vary them. As far as the equality, that goes without saying. You have to treat everyone the same. You cannot vary anything that you do for anyone. Those laws guide you and tell you what you can do and what you cannot do.
Our next question is directed to the sheriff's candidates. We will start with Mr. Hall. Mr. Hall, are you in favor of a citizen review board with subpoena power? If not, why?
I feel like a citizen review board with subpoena powers is important in some circumstances, but not on an everyday basis. A proactive approach by the supervisors of the office can handle majority of the disciplinary problems in the office on a day-to-day basis.
All right. Mr. Jackson, are you in favor of a citizens review board with subpoena power? If not, why?
It's really a tough question to answer. I'm not going to give you a political response. I'm going to give you the truth. The challenge to having a citizens review board with power of subpoena is that you really don't necessarily know who you're going to get on that panel, okay? And whether or not they're trained and understand completely the complexity of what we do every day out here on the street and what it takes to keep the community safe. And there's lots of dynamics that fall into that category. So I think it's really a good question, but it really doesn't provide us with enough information to accurately answer it, because in most instances you're going to ask citizens to come in and look at some information and then try to make a justification or a judgment on something that a law enforcement officer does after years and years and years of training when they've had none. And I think that's unfair to us as law enforcement leaders to subject our people under disciplinary options with the citizens. So I wouldn't be in favor of it unless they were trained properly.
Mr. Parton, are you in favor of a citizens review board with subpoena power? And if not, why?
No, I'm not. A recent case this year in Witt versus Root, the Court of Appeals upheld a lower circuit court decision. The Code of Virginia still says that the sheriff maintains almost unfettered power as to hiring and firing and the running of that agency. The sheriff's office is not a police department. To have a review panel is fine, but I think those folks should be picked by the community. They should be well known. As far as subpoena panel or subpoena power, absolutely not. I'm not in favor.
This next question is to the clerk's race, the clerk candidates. Ms. Richardson, how will you improve the clerk's office if elected?
If I'm elected, I intend to work side by side with the deputy clerks each day and be in the office each day. They're helping them and helping the community with each of their legal problems. I think it's very important for the clerks that are in that office to have a leader that is present and that does the job and knows how to do each and every job in that office. And that's what I intend to do.
Ms. Williams, if re-elected, how will you improve the clerk's office?
We'll improve everything. We try to improve everything every day that we come to work. And I say we because it's a team of 9 highly dedicated, qualified individuals that serve the citizens every day. Just like I was talking about earlier, we put a marriage license kiosk in the office. But we didn't stop there. There's always room for improvement. I don't plan to stop improving anything. I'm going to improve everything. I'm going to walk in and talk to citizens and ask my staff what we can do better. Ms. Richardson has made an assertion that she never sees me in the office. Well, I can say I've never seen her in the office either. My job is 24/7. It isn't always confined to the walls of the courthouse. There are county meetings, there is court, there is grand jury. We do things in the record room. We have trainings, there's nights and weekends. And I'll tell you, there was 2 weeks that I didn't leave the courthouse when we moved from the old courthouse to the new courthouse. I even slept there one night with some staff. So we're going to continually improve. We're always going to keep improving, and we're never going to stop.
Could I rebut that?
Yes, 30 seconds.
I would like to say if she is in the office as often as she says she is, would she be willing to release records showing when she comes and goes from the clerk's office? I know that a citizen in our community has requested those, and she says that she thinks it's a safety concern for the citizens of our county to know when she is in that office.
This question is from the audience and is directed to all candidates. We will start with the clerk's candidates and Ms. Richardson. Would you hire an openly gay employee, and would you fire an openly gay employee if he or she came out?
Well, as an attorney, obviously I know that there are employment laws that you have to follow. I would not hire or fire anybody based on their sexual preference. Obviously, I don't think that has anything to do with the way somebody does their job or how they've performed at their job. So I most definitely wouldn't hire or fire anybody based on that.
Ms. Williams, would you hire an openly gay employee, or would you fire an openly gay employee if he or she came out?
I don't need 10 words to answer this. I would hire an employee that is regardless of their sexual orientation, and I would not discriminate against them or fire them because of the same.
We'll move now to the Commissioner of Revenue candidates. Mr. Taylor, would you hire an openly gay employee, or would you fire an openly gay employee if he or she came out?
I would hire an openly gay employee, and I would not fire an openly gay employee if they came out.
Ms. Royal, would you hire an openly gay employee, or would you fire an openly gay employee if he or she came out?
Yes, I would hire an openly gay employee, and no, I would not fire them for coming out.
We'll now move to the sheriff's candidates and start with Mr. Parton. Mr. Parton, would you hire an openly gay employee, or would you fire an openly gay employee if he or she came out?
It's none of my business who's sleeping with who. And I've got to tell you, that is not a question on the sheriff's office application. Whoever is hired at the sheriff's office has gone through a rigorous application process that Robbie has been involved with the past couple years, and we've talked numerous times about improving. As of right now, it's a great process. That question's not on the application. The best applicants are hired, and no, I would definitely not fire one because of that reason.
Mr. Jackson, would you hire an openly gay employee, or would you fire an openly gay employee if he or she came out?
Well, it's obviously illegal to discriminate. We've, pounded that in the ground already. It's also illegal to ask, by the way, so it can't be on an application. So yes, I would hire one, and no, I wouldn't fire one. But it goes a little bit deeper than that. I actually serve as a safe zone advocate at Virginia Tech and have so for nearly 10 years. So I've voluntarily taken up special training so that I can be a resource to the LGBTQ community and serve as a person that they can come to in confidence if necessary in order to talk about things that they might have a challenge to. I also have served on the Diversity Council at Virginia Tech for a few years and the Diversity Implementation Team at Virginia Tech. And there's not a more diverse place to work than the Virginia Tech campus. There's people from all 50 states, all races and nationalities, and 20 or 21 different countries. So it's important for us to embrace the fact that we're all different and to give everybody the same chance.
Mr. Hall, would you hire an openly gay employee, or would you fire an openly gay employee if he or she came out?
Yes, I would hire, and no, I would not fire. As Chief Deputy, it's my responsibility to ensure that the best candidates are hired to protect the citizens of Montgomery County. Sexual preference is not figured into that equation. as long as the employees can pass criminal history, physical fitness testing, written testing, and score well on the oral interview, they will be hired to do the job. Sexual preference is not considered. It's against the law to even ask.
We're running out of time, so we're going to move to the 2-minute closing statements that each candidate will be allowed to do. You each have 2 minutes, and we're going to start with the clerk candidates and Ms. Williams. Ms. Williams, you may give a 2-minute closing statement.
8 years ago, I was sitting here and I made promises to you. I am pleased to say that I fulfilled every single one of them. This is in part to the great team that is assembled in the clerk's office. But we are not done. I will continue to work hard, leading with a continued vision for the future. We have enhanced citizens' services, modernized and improved the available technology in the clerk's office, preserved and conserved many of Montgomery County's oldest historical records, and increased efficiencies in management of the office. A few examples I will highlight. We've made notary public services available free to the general public. We implemented a new land record system that includes many other applications on it that you can look up tax maps, that you can look up GIS information on, along with our land records. We created a self-service marriage license kiosk for citizens to use in the office and the option of also applying online. We've provided digital access to search warrants to preserve their integrity. We fax scan additional deed books, deeds, all plats, and wills are now in available digital format. We've made available remote access to paperless court files for members of the bar and essential court personnel, and we've also implemented e-filing for civil cases online. This has been a huge benefit to law enforcement that serves our community, that needs to see our records when we're not open 8:30 to 4:30. I have personally obtained grant funding in over $209,000. That's $209,000 that has come to this county to preserve Montgomery County's oldest records. We moved and orchestrated the event of the entire record room over a 2-week period, all while staying open to the public and never closing. We've also expanded our internship program. I'm extremely proud and honored that I am routinely called by clerks across the Commonwealth to see how well we do things in Montgomery County. I've dedicated myself to being the best clerk to the citizens, and I tell you, experience matters. I look forward to recording your next deed, issuing your passport, marriage license, or helping you look up something in the record room.
Ms. Richardson, you may give your 2-minute closing statement.
If you want a hands-on clerk that will work up front with the citizens, then you want me as your clerk. If you want a clerk that believes in community service and service for our community, I am active with the Lions Club. I've served with my church, served on the board of directors for New River Valley Community Services, and served on the board of directors for Pathway Christian Academy. I have worked for the Legal Aid Society, representing victims of domestic violence for over 8 years, helping victims of domestic violence escape their abusers. If you want a clerk that has the experience and the education to help our citizens with their legal needs, then you want me as your clerk. I was a graduate of Christiansburg High School, Virginia Tech, and obtained a Juris Doctorate from Appalachian School of Law. I've also practiced as litigating attorney with the Legal Aid Society and have represented victims in over 1,000 cases. And that is working in the courtroom, applying the law to each and every case, each and every day. If you want a clerk that has clerked for a judge, worked in a clerk's office, and the clerk that is going to move you forward in this community, moving the county forward, moving the clerk's office forward, and a clerk that is going to serve the citizens of the community, then vote for me on November 3rd.
We'll now move to the Commissioner of Revenue candidates. Mr. Taylor, you may give a 2-minute closing statement.
First off, I'd like to thank the League of Women Voters for putting this on, and to Brian Perdue for moderating this, and to all the other people who volunteered to help this go on. Let me state that I am a business person running for a political office. I am not a career politician. I believe in education. I will ask the employees of the Commissioner's office to continue their education. I believe in that strongly. It's very important to keep updating your education and to be learning new and having new ideas in the office. My education is through the school systems of Montgomery County, Virginia, and also have a Bachelor of Arts from Hampton-Sydney College. And as I said before, I have classes at Radford University after that for 2 years. A little bit about my family. My wife is a 6th grade school teacher. She is in her 33rd year of teaching at Montgomery County schools. Our daughter will graduate in December from James Madison University with a degree in engineering. I am very proud of both of them. When elected, I will bring a higher level of customer service to the Commissioner's office, and we will be much more organized. We need up-to-date records that are current. There are way too many bills, as I said before, coming back with incorrect addresses on them. That needs to be corrected. It's costing you all, the taxpayers, money. For the past 15 years, I've run a successful insurance office, and I'm currently a member of the Economic Development Authority, a very important authority board in Montgomery County. I look forward to being your next Commissioner of Revenue and having a good working relationship with the Treasurer and other members of the Government Center. I want to be an active Commissioner throughout the year and not just during election time. Thank you.
Ms. Royal, you have 2 minutes.
I am the Commissioner of Revenue, and I have a staff that their courtesy is known in this county. People love to come to our office, and it's not me they come to see. It's the front row, Susan and Patty and Brenda and Jesse and Heather, Renee, Karen. They are the Commissioner's office. They work very hard. If the only thing we do wrong is get mail back, then we have it made. They are working really,
Please, no
really.
applause, no applause, no applause.
We have gone to class. I have hosted 2 classes here, so I could take at least half of my people to a class while not having to pay for hotel rooms and things like that. And they love them. They love the classes. They learn a lot. So we are not the inefficient office that you all are being led to believe that we are. As far as proration, I checked proration out for the Board of Supervisors. It is the fair thing to do, and I stand by my decision to do that, because if you buy it, you should start paying for it when you buy it. You don't buy a house and pay for it 6 or 8 months later, or even a year later. So why would you buy a car and pay for it 6 or 8 or a year later down the road? Thank you.
We'll now move to the sheriff candidates. Mr. Jackson, you have 2 minutes to give a closing statement.
I'd also like to take an opportunity to thank the League of Women's Voters, the moderator, and all those that volunteered to make this event happen today. I'd also like to thank everybody that came out here today to listen to what myself and all the rest of the candidates had to say about their visions for their respective offices and what they hope to do if fortunate enough to be either elected into their the position they seek or re-elected in the position that they hold. A lot of talk seems to surface around whether or not George Jackson can hit the ground running at the sheriff's office. Well, let me sit here and tell you that I can. And it's not because I would be the sheriff. It wouldn't be because Robbie's the sheriff, and it wouldn't be because Hank Parton's the sheriff. It's because they have over 100 employees that come to work every day and put their lives on the line, and they do everything that they're asked to do in a professional and suitable manner, just like they've been asked to. I think I've established my background that is suitable for the job. I'm certainly well qualified. I ask you to check any national publication seeking to hire a law enforcement executive and do the checking. Ultimately, the sheriff's office does not get handed down to somebody. You know, I am not the outsider. I've lived in Montgomery County for nearly 35 years. My family worships here. We go to school here. My kids and my nieces and nephews, they go to school here, so the school and the safety and security of them and everybody else is important to me and my family. I'm a volunteer in the community because I believe in helping other people. And at the end of the day, it's time to put people before politics. We sat here 4 years ago and everybody on the stand argued about whether or not these positions should be politically affiliated. And everybody sat up here and said no, they shouldn't. But when that debate closed out, several candidates had to put out the rallying cry for their party to get involved and help them get elected. Well, I'm just asking a time to put people before politics, and I'm asking for your support on November the 3rd in the form of your vote when you go to the ballot. Thank you.
Mr. Parton, you have 2 minutes to make a closing statement.
I would like to thank the League of Women Voters as well, Mr. Perdue, and concerned voters of Montgomery County. Before I begin, I just want to say thank you to my Heavenly Father above for all of the blessings He has bestowed upon me, especially my family. I have 28 years of law enforcement experience. The last 22 of those I've spent with the Sheriff's Office serving the citizens of Montgomery County. I am a proud veteran, having retired from the United States Army after 22 years of service to this great nation at the rank of Sergeant Major. I've been endorsed by the Police Benevolent Association, Governor George Allen. My vision of the Sheriff's Office under my administration is straightforward and achievable. A 3-point school safety plan to keep our children safe, to work with our Board of Supervisors in order to place a school resource officer in every elementary school. I will work to improve the relationship between our deputies and school children through positive interaction, and to establish a much needed and more aggressive social media awareness campaign. The establishment of a deputy church team that will visit every church's governing body to discuss their security plans and our involvement with their church events. A serious look at our senior citizens' concerns and the possibility of a key lockbox program to keep the Sheriff's Office at the forefront of the regional preparedness and emergency response training initiatives with all of our local law enforcement agencies, fire departments, rescue squads, and all other emergency services personnel. I have worked my way through the ranks in both my military and law enforcement careers, from drill sergeant to sergeant major, from patrol deputy to captain. I respect every one of our deputies, and they respect me. There is a trust factor there that I have earned from every one of the heroes at that Sheriff's Office. I have developed the leadership skills gained only from experience and supervisory positions. I'm asking for your vote on November 3rd. You have my word, I will not let you down. Thank you.
Mr. Hall, you have 2 minutes to make a closing statement.
I'd also like to thank the League of Women Voters. I've been at the Sheriff's Office 34 years. I worked my way up through the ranks. The last 4.5 years I've been Chief Deputy, which means I am responsible for the day-to-day operation of the Sheriff's Office, all 130 employees. Also, in the Sheriff's absence, I do assume the role of Sheriff. I have worked in and been actively involved in all divisions within the office. I'm the only candidate involved in the planning, construction of the Regional 911 Center, which is slated to open next July. Once this center opens, there will be 4 dispatch centers in Montgomery County closed. I understand everything that must happen for this, on time for this to happen July of next year. I understand next generation 911 and up to date on anything else that's involved in the dispatch center. I have proven myself on programs that I have started at the office. I started the Montgomery County Jail Bridge program through New River Community Corrections and New River Valley Community Services. This way it diverts inmates away from the criminal justice system back into the community for intensive treatment of substance abuse and mental health services. I've also started and had the most successful GED program in the area. It was locally picked up and ran locally on in the media. I was notified today that it's been picked up nationally, and the success of this program will be aired this weekend or next week. Home electronic monitoring. Through this program, I have collected over $102,000 in child support for needy families. I have proven myself. I have been involved in the social media at the office. Last week during the flood, we had 52,000 views on our website. Thank you.
This concludes our 2015 Constitutional Officers Candidate Forum. I'd like to thank all of the candidates. It takes a lot of courage to do this. Let's give them all a round of applause. In democracy, great. Good job. Good job. Thanks.